I have never in my lifetime ever heard of a lawyer, let alone a federal government attorney in court, you guys, before a federal judge, begging the judge to hold her in contempt so that she could be thrown into jail and therefore get a good night's sleep. And I swear to you, this happened yesterday. I'm sure you have seen this, or some of you may have, but if you have not, let me share this with you. So this is actually a post, a screenshot from Twitter. This guy, Paul Bloom, who is a Fox reporter, who's real, and everybody, all the reporters who are there or know him are vouching for this. There have been stories already written about this, right? This happened yesterday afternoon. Let me read you what he said. Shocking federal court moment. DOJ attorney Julie Lee said this. The system sucks. This job sucks. She said this to Judge Jerry Blackwell because she got flustered because the judge was asking why it was that so many court orders were being ignored by ICE and by the entire Trump administration. I mean, the judge was going through and saying, why are they doing this when they're not supposed to? So she freaks out and says to the judge, hold me in contempt just so I can get 24 hours of sleep. Now, there's a follow-up post from Paul. And it says, why were we there? Judge Blackwell had ordered this show cause hearing. So a show cause hearing is where you demand one of the parties come in and show the cause for why they're not abiding by the order. So he was frustrated that in 5 habeas cases, this is where prisoners are asking to be released because there's like no legal justification for holding them. So the judge was frustrated because in 5 habeas cases that he was presiding over, he believed his orders were being ignored. And that meant that these immigrant detainees were being unconstitutionally locked up for days. In Lee's excuse, this attorney, she said, the government lawyers can't keep up. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit more that we know about this, having heard it fleshed out, which is obviously when the government suddenly changes its view of people in the country and wants to do these mass deportations, and lawyers in the Department of Justice are quitting right and left because they don't believe it's constitutional. And they're down to a small group of people. And by the way, she is a lawyer who had been contracted to work with ICE in Minnesota. And now she had volunteered to help with the DOJ cases. She apparently had 80 plus, like 88 federal cases that she was responsible for. And I know that may seem high. Now, that kind of number wouldn't be high if you were a public interest lawyer defending people over, that would be your caseload over running on a period of a year. And that seems crazy. But for a federal prosecutor, Department of Justice, this would be unheard of. Each of these cases could be like her central case for like an entire year. This is really, or a few of them. So there's literally no way for her to keep up. And what she was also talking about, and I'm not saying I feel sorry for her, I'm just telling you the facts here. Because, I mean, I'm assuming she could quit. Some people can't quit their jobs, obviously. I couldn't quit my job. I mean, how does anyone pay the rent or for food or anything else, right? Gas money. Some people could quit their jobs. Maybe she could find another. I think hopefully she would have family because this is untenable. You're begging the judge to put you in jail so you can get a good night's sleep. Because what she was also saying is she essentially has no control over her client. She doesn't know. They won't listen when she wants to. She's so busy, or they're just so, recalcitrant. They don't listen to their own lawyers. And she absolutely doesn't have the way to figure out how to communicate with ICE, because remember, Donald Trump said, well, first of all, a federal judge who imposes an order, that order only affects their area of the country. And then if it goes up to the circuit court, that's sort of a big area. And then the Supreme Court. Remember, this administration doesn't want nationwide injunctions. They're demanding, and they also decide their position of this government is to ignore federal judges. So this lawyer is going into court trying to say her clients are out of control. Anyway, it's melting down, and that is good. Some people are, upset and saying this is destroying the Department of Justice. Well, here's my view. It will have to be rebuilt then. Stuff is broken. It's not like the system held. We are now living in an unconstitutional crisis, a constitutional crisis, absolutely. But, as Michael Stipe's saying in REM, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Why do I feel fine? Partially because Anna Gifty was on the show yesterday. You may have seen her, and she really made me feel better. We don't have to be in denial about what's happening. We have to build capacity. We have to do what Ezra Levin and the others say, get ready for, I believe it's March 30th, where there is the big indivisible. Deb can correct me if I'm wrong. She can give me the link. I think it's March 30th. We're having a big indivisible, the third No Kings rally. Weather will be good. People can plan. It's got to be the biggest ever. We need to get to that tipping point, to that 3.5% of people in the streets nonviolently. We're in trouble, but we have the power. We saw that. We see that. Now, I know things aren't substantially better in Minnesota, but people are freaked out. People are angry. And that is why the Texas special election was hugely a bellwether for the Republican Party. And that is why Donald Trump is trying to say he's going to get Congress to nationalize the election just in 15 areas. Let me guess, right? Where he lost. Is that what that is? That ain't going to happen. And guys, if it does, we have each other. We are not ever in America going to be an fully authoritarian country like Russia, like China, like Hungary. That's what they want, but we're smarter than that. So, the minute he was sworn in, I was honest with you. I'm like, this is a kleptocracy. This is government by thieves. This is, authoritarianism. We live in the dual state where people who are friends of Trump can get rid of, violate the law, get pardons, or not even be prosecuted, and everybody else will be held to the line and also investigated for bullshit charges if they are his enemy. This is where we are, but I swear to you, we will get through this because they are desperate now and we are bigger than them. Now, I want to add to my enthusiasm for how bad shit is. So we are going to stand up to them. Let me show you a quick clip. If you didn't see my full show yesterday with Anna, I'm going to give you like a 1-minute clip. And I love this. I love her energy. I love her brilliance. This young woman is only 29 years old. She's about to get her PhD from Harvard. She's written 2 books already. She is a great communicator. She is, mathematics and economics. And she gives me hope for the future. Here, let's play it.
People are wondering, why is this happening? And I think that you have to take it back to 2016, 2017. You might be wondering, what am I talking about? Am I talking about Trump's election? No, I'm actually not. I'm talking about there was a Brookings report that was released around that time. I might be off by my dates by a year or two. And basically what the Brookings report said, and Brookings, by the way, is a think tank. For those who don't know, it produce it. It basically translates academic insights for policymakers, and they also do their own work. And what they found was, according to the census, I think it's 2040 or 2050, this country is going to be majority black and brown.
Right.
And if you want to understand where every crash out in the West is coming from, it's really the fact that
it's multiracial democracy, right? We want it, they don't. Sorry.
Exactly. Our world is actually majority Black and brown, but the West is not. It's inevitably going to become that. And I think what you're seeing is people who have abused the marginalized for generations, realizing, oh my God, if the tables turn, we are going to be subject to the same type of abuse. And we're not saying that that's actually going to happen, but that's the perception that is essentially driving the resurgence of eugenics, driving the deportations that are illegal and the kidnapping, killings of many, by the way, individuals who are victims of ICE.
Okay. I'm just laying that down as a baseline. So why am I smiling? Because the solution is easy. It's you've got to think about not retreating. You've got to think about, sometimes some centrist Democrats are like, well, I guess we better have some people in the party who are anti-abortion. No. Some centrist Democrats are like, well, we can't run any candidates who are not white. It's like, no, look at Zohran Mamdani. You run candidates in the areas where they can win. And by the way, now is the time to embrace multiracial democracy. Now is the time to say, yeah, America is, I don't like to say melting pot, I like to say a tossed salad. The strength we have is our diversity. Fight back against what they are trying to do, because this is a worldwide project. And I know that I want to be myself on the side of inclusion, on the side of creativity, on the side of human flourishing, on the side of nurturing and science and development, on the side of shared prosperity, not domination, not subordination. And we can see this, guys, in the Epstein files. We can see the people like Peter Thiel. We can see the people like, and even outside of the files, like Elon Musk. We can see the people like Jeff Epstein and the others who want to destroy the nation states and come up with this kind of feudalistic world. And we can see what that world would look like, where the men in their circles subordinate, dominate, and rape young girls with impunity, where they use their wealth to silence anyone who would speak out, where they use compromise, where they use information about people that they don't want out there to control governments. I mean, God, guys, I sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but sadly I'm not. And so now is the time where we say no. Now is the time for togetherness. That's just the way it is. Okay. So I want to, on that front, did you hear that yesterday, boom, 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 the French prosecutors, some prosecutors in Paris, are investigating Elon Musk, or rather the company that owns the website formerly known as Twitter. And there are 7 accusations, according to the New York Times, including complicity in distributing images of children of pornographic nature, denial of crimes against humanity, and fraudulent extraction of data. Love it. I love the French. I almost want to, I wish I knew the French national anthem, not album. And I think the only way to hold on one second. The best way to do this for you, because I'm not going to sing for you, is to share with you a rendition of the French national album, which some of you, my friends, must be aware of. And here we go. Let's play it. Right? So, do you remember that scene from Casablanca? where in France, occupied France, or, this is what is happening, and I know this is fiction, but for me, the symbolism of drowning out the voices of the Nazis, drowning out with your voice and choosing to stand up for what's right. Now, I'm playing that now because the French are actually doing that. We may have to be and relying, and we are, on other countries to do the right thing because, of course, we have Trumpism. And I like to say, at some point, we just have to say, and I'm saying it, thanks, Republicans, because it is the Republican Party who is doing this. Okay, so let's talk about where this shows up, though, in the Epstein files. So this is Rep. Jim McGovern. He was my former rep from when I lived in Northampton, Massachusetts. And here he is showing an excerpt. And let me just back up to warn you. This is a sworn statement that was included as part of the lawsuit brought by a woman known as Katie Johnson. That is a pseudonym. I think many of you heard about this. This is the lawsuit that then was dropped. We don't know if there was a settlement. And she sued, I think it was Trump and Epstein. And in this lawsuit, she argued, or she claimed, I think we read about this before, that she was sexually assaulted by Donald Trump, raped by him and by Jeff Epstein. And it's quite a terrible allegation. But what's really important is, as part of that lawsuit, there were affidavits, signed, sworn statements from people, a woman who went by the name Tiffany, again, this is, I think, a pseudonym, who said she worked for Epstein and witnessed this. So I want to point out to you, here is what Jim McGovern said. He said, this is not and by the way, this was released in the Epstein files, of course, but we've seen it before. This is not some anonymous tip. This is sworn testimony under penalty of perjury from someone who said Trump threatened to kill her if she exposed sexual abuse. Right, so this is the Tiffany Doe, the pseudonym. And this was filed in connection with the Katie Johnson lawsuit. Here's what she wrote. I personally witnessed defendant Trump telling the plaintiff, telling Katie Johnson, that she shouldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like the 12-year-old female blank. And that we don't have her name there. And I think they redacted that, but I've seen in earlier versions a name there. And that he was capable of having her whole family killed. Tiffany adds, after leaving the employment of Mr. Epstein in the year 2000, I was personally threatened by Mr. Epstein that I would be killed and my family killed as well if I ever disclosed any of the physical and sexual abuse of minor females that I had personally witnessed by Mr. Epstein or any of his guests. She adds, I am coming forward to swear to the truthfulness of the physical and sexual abuse that I personally witnessed of minor females at the hands of Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein, including the plaintiff. So this is the Katie Johnson. During the time of my employment from the years of 1990 to 2000 for Mr. Epstein, I swear to these facts under penalty of perjury, even though I fully understand that the life of myself and my family is now in grave danger. I declare under penalty of perjury the foregoing is true and correct. This is dated June 18th, 2016. Why hasn't Todd Blanche reached out to this person? Why isn't this being discussed in the news? It would be very easy to verify whether this woman worked for Epstein in that time frame. And I have no reason to doubt this. It's not being addressed. Donald Trump was at one of these press conferences or meetings in the Oval Office, and he was saying, I'm innocent, and all these other people are, aren't, and so on. But I need to add with you, the cover-up, of course, continues. They don't care about the victims. Let me share with you, this is Caitlin Collins asking a question to Donald Trump at this press conference where he was handing out a new hat that says America is back. From where? Because back to what? Back to racism, back to violence against brown people. That's not back. I mean, that is back. That is backwards. Let me play what he said about the victims.
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel
you are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman.
Mr. President.
Something that people care about.
Okay, listen carefully. It's Caitlin asking, what would you say about the survivors, I think? Listen real carefully.
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel
you are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile in your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead.
Sexual you mentioned health care and the bill.
Okay, why this other person pivoted to healthcare, I don't know. But his misogyny is on display. He doesn't obviously answer the questions, what would you say to survivors? He says, why isn't this woman smiling? Because, of course, it's the job of women to smile and to approve, especially of everything he says, right? Okay, she's not smiling because she's lying. She's asking a question. I find it unacceptable that the next question wasn't about the survivors, and then the next question, and then the next question. Whoever's asking about healthcare, what a fucking joke. Years ago, in 2017, he said his healthcare plan would be here in 2 weeks. Why the hell are you asking questions about that? Our corporate, I shouldn't say corporate, but our mainstream media owned by these large businesses, sometimes people like Caitlin ask a question, but why aren't the others following up with the same one? Where is his sympathy for the victims? It doesn't exist. I believe, until I'm told otherwise, I believe in the sworn statement. If they can verify that Tiffany Doe worked for Epstein in that time period, and even, that's all it would take for me to believe her sworn statement over anything that comes out of that lying, misogynistic, rapist pig's mouth. Narcissist, did I say? Racist? Okay. Now, I want to turn now to the abuses of ICE. And I want us to hear from Marimar Martinez, who you may remember was, I think she's the first American who was shot in an encounter by ICE. And this really prefigured what would happen later, right? We know, and I think I don't remember exactly when the date was. This happened in Chicago, and she yesterday was called into a shadow hearing to testify before Congress. I don't think this was what's called a real hearing, because I don't think it was held by the Republican majority, right? And hold on. I think, and I don't want to, I thought it was a shadow hearing. I'm not entirely sure. Because I'm seeing this yes, I think it was, because there were members of Congress as well as the Senate. And what happened to her prefigured the shooting of Renee Good. So I want you to hear, I've got a few clips from her from that hearing. And let me just say, this is what the minority party should be doing. You can hold unofficial hearings with people under oath and have the press come. They need to step it up. This needs to be in our faces. And I'm also waiting for when the victims who have spoken out and are comfortable doing that can do so as well. So let me share with you first, Marimar Martinez talking about being shot 7 times and surviving it. Let's go.
The next thing I knew, I felt a burning sensation in my arms, legs, and that I had been shot by pepper balls, which I also seen these agents fire at people in our community. As I continued to drive past the Border Patrol agents, I could hear my back passenger window shatter, and I felt bullets continue to pierce my body. As I attempted to drive to a safe location, I began to feel lightheaded. I looked down and I noticed blood gushing out of my arms and legs, and I realized I'd been shot multiple times. As I became lightheaded, I became worried I would pass out and endanger other drivers on the road. I managed to drive a mile from where the incident happened, and I pulled into a parking lot of a mechanic shop, and I called 911. I told the 911 operator that Border Patrol agents had just shot me and I needed help. I recall some of the workers from the shop sitting me down in a chair as I was waiting for help, but I was losing this battle. I saw my life flash before me and slowly began to think this was the end for me. And before losing consciousness, the next thing I remember is the EMT putting me on a stretcher, taking me to the hospital. At the hospital, I remember seeing multiple agents standing around, watching me be treated for my wounds. My arms, legs, and chest were all wrapped in bandages. I had 7 bullet holes in my body. I remember the agents rushing the nurses to finish up so they could take me with them. I still felt dizzy. I was not able to fully process what had happened to me. After being at the hospital for less than 3 hours, I was discharged from the hospital and took custody of the FBI. As we left the hospital, I was escorted out through the back in a wheelchair. I observed over dozens of Border Patrol agents waiting outside the hospital. One of the agents came up to me with his cell phone and took a photograph of me. It was the same agent who had previously kept coming in and out my room, and I had to repeatedly tell him to leave. I told him I did not consent for him to photograph me, but he did not care. It still haunts me that this agent has my photo on his phone. Was this the agent that shot me? Was this a trophy for him?
Oh my God.
I was next taken to the FBI building for further processing because they rushed me out of the hospital so quickly, the blood started soaking through the bandages.
I just need to pause. Thank God this woman lived. These monsters need to be shut down. My position is abolish ICE and also to control. This is, of course, I say abolish ICE, but this is Border Patrol also. These officers need to be charged with these crimes. This is attempted murder. It's sick. Let me share with you about 2 more clips. Hold on.
Continue to work and teach my children, but knowing that I was under federal indictment and facing...
Oh, so let me just back up for you. They claimed that she was trying to harm, I think, or hit or kill ICE agents in her car, but someone else had actually hit her first. So this woman in the hospital for 3 hours being treated for gunshot wounds. And our law in this country is such that she can be taken away and then put in prison and charged for something, a crime that she didn't even commit. And why was this done? Because she's brown. She speaks with an accent. They rounded her up. They saw her in her car. This is thanks to Brett Kavanaugh and the Supreme Court, who think these are just quick, no big deal, that it's fine for federal authorities to stop someone. Just check, see who they are, and then that's fine. This is happening because people who are in power don't care to stop it. The Republican Party could at any second stop this. There are enough of them in the Senate. There are so many paths. There are so many legal avenues to shut this down, to remove Trump from office, anything up to and including that. This could stop in like that instantly. We could have this end. It's happening because it's not just they don't care. This is what they want. It's what Anna said. They're trying to terrorize Black and brown people in this country. So some of them leave, so they don't participate in civic life, and just to also reinforce a hierarchy because they're so afraid of the white majority in the United States and some other European countries going away. But let me tell you, if this is what the white majority, and I'm not criticizing every single white person, this is not what that is about. I'm talking about a power system. But if the system of power that we have, which is dominated by white people, is producing that, why the fuck do we want this to continue? And I'm not saying there are other, I'm not, all countries in this world we have seen, in many countries, I should say, domination, violence, all these terrible things. I don't want to model the United States after any country that has that. But there are some countries that are more, subscribe to democratic socialism, that care more about the people in their country. Maybe we should look at those models and welcome our multiracial democracy where people can flourish. Okay, let me continue.
Any charges and potentially years in federal prison over a minor car accident where the other driver was at fault and attempted to kill me was terrifying. There was times where I did not believe this was all real, and then I would touch my bullet wounds and knew it was certainly real.
Okay. And the last thing, this is the most powerful part.
I am Renee Good. I am Alex Preddy. I am Silverio Villegas Gonzalez. I am Keith Porter. They should all be here today. I know each of them would trade my bullet wounds a lifetime of mental distress and a heartbeat to be able to be back with their loved ones this afternoon. And we must also remember the countless other souls who lost their lives at the hands of these entrusted with authority.
I mean, this is so powerful. I hope that you understand why it was important for me to share her testimony and let her continue to speak and continue to heal. Now, let's talk a little bit more. Let me take a quick pivot for a second. I want to have a moment to share with you, for those of you who watch the show regularly, our mascot is Tank the tortoise. And Tank is doing so great. He had broken his beak. I didn't even know tortoises had, I didn't know their front of their face was a beak, but now I know. And he is back home. And I think what you need to see for a timeline cleanse now is this. Have you ever seen a tortoise eat a banana? I'm pretty sure you haven't. So I just want to check in the chat. Do you feel like this would be a good moment to see, I've got to scroll down to my chat here. Wow, we've got a lot of people talking. I want to know, I really want to know, folks, is this, do you want to see, how did he break his beak? I don't think they know how that happened, but he's doing great now. And he had to be treated and he had to be fed through a feeding tube. It was a big ordeal. Okay. So Tank the tortoise, who was rescued years ago by this lovely couple. Tank has two moms because, of course, fabulous Tank and his fabulous moms. Do you want to see Tank eating a banana? Yes. Show me some Tank. Everyone needs it. Okay, let's go. Here is Tank. There's also a kitty cat there. There is Tank eating. Yes. Tank eating a banana. Oh, yes. Okay. This is just a tortoise eating a banana. It is not a metaphor for anything, not symbolic of anything other than love, healing, and joy that we must continue to have in this world. Because what else are we going to do while we are here? Okay, so I want to, there is, I'm saving something for you for Crazy Town. I am, because it's really nuts. But let me share with you first, Senator Mark Kelly. You know, he's been under fire from Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration, and he's hanging tough. And he was asked this morning on Morning Joe, what does he think about funding ICE and Border Patrol? So I do think it's worth listening to where he stands right now. Okay.
Good morning. It's Ali Vitale.
Oh, sorry. And, let me just say, Senator Kelly is former astronaut. So is his twin brother, married to Gabby Giffords, the representative who was a victim of gun violence and is now a very much proponent of gun control. Okay, let's go.
In Washington, I want to take it back to the politics of Capitol Hill, because I think now that the funding bill has passed, there's an open question of what negotiations around the Department of Homeland Security will yield. I had a House Democrat on my show this morning saying 9 days is not nearly enough for us to get through this complex negotiation. So I'm wondering for you, what would it take to get you to yes on DHS funding? And is another continuing resolution potentially on the table if you feel like...
By the way, I should just blanket it as DHS, Department of Homeland Security funding, because obviously Border Patrol as well as ICE is under that. Okay, so let me go back to Ali Vitale talking to Senator Kelly.
Talks need more time.
Well, I didn't vote for the last one. It's going to take a lot for me. I mean, this agency has, gone rogue. Its budget is way over bloated. It's approaching the size of the Marine Corps. They're hiring a massive amount of people, and it's pretty obvious to me they're not training them well. They're wearing tactical gear as if they were in Fallujah as special operators, tactical helmets and fatigues and, vests on the outside, military equipment to intimidate. And then they put masks on so nobody knows their identity. No name tags. We've got to get rid of the masks. They should be wearing body cameras, all of them, all of the time. And right now they need to get out of Minneapolis and really reevaluate, what this agency should be. Kristi Noem needs to be fired, by the way. That's a good starting point here. And the senior leadership there, the ones that have implemented these policies, these people need to go.
Yeah. I mean, when he said the budget is getting to be as large, did he say as the Marines? What the hell? Geared up like they're in Fallujah? Yeah, because he is at war, Trump is, with the American people, especially the cities where the people don't support him. This is a big fucking problem, guys. Correction. No Kings 3.0 is March 28th. That's the Saturday. I knew it was the end of March. March 28th. It's a Saturday. We have tons of time to prepare. Not all the time in the world, but it's necessary. So that is the viewpoint, which is the good viewpoint, I think, of, I hope, the majority, I hope 100% of the Democrats in the Senate. And remember, they're going to need, right now we're in a situation where the government is funded, but DHS, that piece, is not for this coming year. Other than, remember, there's that old $75 billion that's spread over, I forgot, a few years that they think still have access to. I'm not fully sure how that works, but I think, right, we want that to be repealed, obviously. So my understanding is if in 2 weeks there's no deal, then I don't think the whole government shuts down. I just think we just don't have a deal. That's what I'm missing about. I don't understand what incentive. I don't know what the default is. In other words, if there is no agreement, which I hope there isn't, on any single penny more going to DHS, then is just that it? Like, why? I don't understand the incentive. Or is it that the default is then it's approved? Like, I think it's just DHS. That's what I would say. Why the hell would we agree to do anything other than take their money away? Take it away. Shut it the hell down. Now, let's take a look at how the Republicans are viewing this. This is Republican Mark Harris over on the House side. And this will show you why there is no way to change this agency. It is operating the way they want, and they want it to be even more lawless. Let's watch.
Some of these things are non-starters. Having judicial warrants, to me, that's a non-starter.
Having judicial warrants, to me, is a non-starter. Okay. It is legally required to have a judge-signed warrant before you enter someone's home, and that is under the Fourth Amendment. There are some exceptions. One would be consent. You open the door and let them in. The other would be exigent circumstances, where you think there is like an ongoing crime happening that needs to be stopped, like a violent crime or kidnapping of a child, etc. And maybe the third example I can give you of an exception to the warrant requirement would be like someone who's fleeing or escaping and you chase them in there or something. I am, again, not a Fourth Amendment or a constitutional law professor, but let's just be clear. Judicial warrant signed by a judge is a requirement for that. As for people on the street out in the open, right now the standard is an administrative warrant. And what that means is someone inside of DHS goes, yeah, I want to take this person in. So I'm not sure what he's talking about, but the idea that the Constitution is a non-starter is pretty messed up. Let's continue.
Being able to make them take off their mask, putting them at risk, that's a non-starter. So
Okay. Having them take off their mask and putting them at a risk is a non-starter. There is no evidence whatsoever. There is not one example of an ICE or a Border Patrol officer, because someone knows who they are, being injured at all. Not only that, every single other police officer is unmasked. How about all the federal judges who put their life on the line? Their names are there. You can look up their addresses. To say we are going to have a secret police that can violate the Constitution, that won't be wearing masks, that will be violently shooting and killing people, injuring them, and lying about the conditions, that they should be protected and not seen, and now everybody else is visible and targets in their sights? Nonsense. Let me continue.
I would say anything that's going to somehow hamstring the work of ICE, the work of our federal agents, that's just not going to go anywhere. So it's going to be important for us to understand. And
we are never going to see anything from the Republican Party that will satisfy us. Abolish ICE. That is the centrist position. Arrest, try, and if a jury finds them guilty, convict them, is a little left of center. And, maybe the radical position, but I think it's reasonable, is remove Donald Trump. I mean, that is where we are, right? They all have to go. I mean, this is not like, it doesn't, putting body cameras on them, which Noam is now volunteering to do, doesn't help the situation. Okay. Now, I got something else on Epstein before I get to Crazy Town. You may have heard that Bill and Hillary Clinton have agreed to come into Congress and do depositions on camera and under oath. I don't think this will be a live event at first. I think it's going to want to be the ones they've been holding, the depositions. And I think they're also going to be having like Les Wexner and folks like that. And they agreed to do this. And if you can believe the chutzpah, we are actually hearing Republicans say, if they take the Fifth and refuse to answer certain questions, that's unacceptable. And I'm thinking, what about Elon Musk coming in? What about Donald Trump coming in? What about actually taking depositions of victims who are willing to be deposed under oath and letting us see those? They have turned this into a political witch hunt, unconcerned about victims. Not only does Donald Trump not want to answer questions and attacks reporters for asking about it, but they expose the names and nude photos of child victims and young adult victims of Epstein. So let's hear how they're focusing on Clinton. By the way, I think the Clintons should come in and talk under oath. I have no problem with that. Let's have everybody do it. And that would be, Noam Chomsky, too, who shows up in there, and Bill Gates, too, and that guy who just resigned from the Labour Party in England, all of them. And you know what? King Charles thinks that the Andrew formerly known as Prince should cooperate. All of them. If you wanted to bring down Donald Trump, that could have been done. If you just want justice for victims, wherever that would be, it could be done. None of that is happening at all. And I also have, as you probably know, a few words for Merrick Garland, because apparently this was still being investigated on their watch. And I would like to know, we should be seeing, where are all the 302s? Those are the interviews from FBI agents of any of these people. Why? They had these files. Merrick Garland's Justice Department had these files. Why weren't they interviewing the people that we see in here? Why didn't Larry Summers get interviewed? There are so many examples. And, there will be people who defend Merrick Garland to the ends of this earth. If I could point to somebody who is a key reason why Donald Trump won a second term, it would be him. And then, of course, the justices on the Supreme Court who dragged their feet and decided to make a more complicated, post-presidential immunity standard. Many months, they could have established this many months earlier, and Trump could have gone to trial. And like I said to you, is this the system you want? And what I will say to you is, if and when the Democratic Party regains power, the thing that's going to break your heart, it's going to break your fucking heart, is they're not going to expand the Supreme Court, and they're not going to hold people accountable. I hope they do. I am just bracing myself, because what they were supposed to do when Joe Biden took office was exactly that. Donald Trump tried to overturn a free and fair election. Donald Trump had, it was clear from the Mueller report, had engaged in obstruction of justice. It was the time we needed to expand the Supreme Court then, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And so what we need to keep in mind is, when we choose people to vote for, we need first to, if we have elections, get Democrats in control. And then we need to push them to do the right thing, because they won't do it without us. Okay, so let me share this clip with you about the Clintons. Totally hypocritical, like I said.
I think it's going to be difficult for Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton to plead the fifth, because they've been talking a big game for the last 24 hours that they want the American people to see. They want the American people to learn the truth and all that. Okay, well, if the truth is you can't answer the questions, you plead the fifth, then I think that's going to be a mark that will ban them from social gatherings and everything else, because most liberals in America are very...
I'm sorry, ban them from social gatherings? This is how Republicans think about this. Okay, I got to continue with Comer.
Very concerned about getting the truth, the Epstein whole investigation. I don't think the truth's what they think it is, but they want anyone that spent a lot of time with Jeffrey Epstein to have to answer questions. And the Clintons, to my knowledge, have never really sat down and answered questions. They've never been interviewed about it, unlike President Trump, who gets asked daily, including today, including just a few hours ago, dozens of questions about Epstein. Bill Clinton's never, to my knowledge...
Fuck him. Donald Trump gets asked dozens of questions about Epstein? Really? You heard how he responds to them. Has he been asked under oath? No. What the fuck is Comer even saying? And again, Let the Clintons talk. Let them all go in. Let's keep our eyes on that. Okay. Now, before I get to the utter crazy town, I want to take a moment to say this. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the death of my dear mother, Shelley Goodman Taub. I want to share with you, here's my mom, 1939 to 2025. She was 85 years old, didn't make it to her 86th birthday. Here she is. She was a county commissioner in Oakland County, Michigan, and she was also in the state legislature. I love this picture of her. Here's another one. This is also, let me just get out of this shot. I think this is one of my favorites. A photo of her reading a picture book to children, and I'm pretty flippin' sure that's the very hungry caterpillar. So, just taking that in. I love Eric Carle, his work, and I love that book. Okay, now it is time for a little crazy town before we go. Okay, crazy town. It's crazy, and it would be funny if it weren't so messed up, is Mike Johnson. I'm going to play this clip. You got to hear it, and then I'll comment on the other side.
Pope Leo has cited Matthew 25:35 to critique Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda. How would you respond to Pope Leo in Scripture?
So you want me to give you a theological dissertation? All right, I'll tell you what, I'll post it on my website later today, but let me give you a quick summary. Borders and walls are biblical. From the Old Testament to the New, God has allowed us to set up our civil societies and have separate nations. Immigration is not something that's frowned upon in Scripture. In fact, it's welcome. We're to welcome the sojourner and love our neighbor as ourselves. But what's also important in the Bible is that assimilation is expected and anticipated and proper. When someone comes into your country, comes into your nation, they do not have the right to change its laws or to change its society. They're expected to assimilate. We haven't had a lot of that going on.
Hold on one second. The Haitian immigrants here in temporary protected status have jobs, paying billions in taxes, wonderful neighbors. Assimilate. He means turn white. People are being deported not because of assimilation. It's because of their skin color. Let's continue.
People cite passages out of the Old Testament, and they say, well, you're supposed to take care of the sojourner and the neighbor, treat them as yourself, welcome them in. Yes, but that is an admonition to individuals, not to the civil authorities. The civil authorities are given authority under Scripture to maintain order. Romans 12, you want to do this? Romans 13 says that the civil authorities are God's agents of wrath to bring punishment upon the wrongdoer. And it says if you do right, you have no fear of the civil authorities, but those civil authorities are necessary. It's a calling. It's a calling to maintain order in society, and we have not had that. When Biden and Harris opened the borders wide for 4 years, we had as many as 20 million illegals come across the country, and we all know many dangerous people, hardened criminals, child molesters, rapists, murderers, all the rest, terrorists who came into the country. We did not take care of our borders. Sovereign borders are biblical and good and right, and they're just, because it's not because we hate the people on the outside.
Okay. Two things. He should have refused to answer a question using Scripture, even though they asked. The fact that the Pope, who is a leader of the Catholic Church, cites Scripture is his role. As a member of Congress, he should say, we don't live in a theocracy. I will be referring to the book that governs American society, which is the U.S. Constitution. Furthermore, sovereign borders and citing back to this idea based on religion. What are we having? The divine right of kings in this country? Crazy town. Crazy flippin' town. Okay, guys, I will see you. What day is today? Oh, today's Wednesday. I am taking tomorrow, Thursday off. Sorry, mods, I didn't tell you because I will be traveling, but I'll be back here on Friday. So, of course, tomorrow will be a ginormous, huge, gigantic news day, right? I don't care what happens today or tomorrow. I'm not going to see you until Friday morning. Okay. Love you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Taub show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There is hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Taub show.
I gotta watch the end. What if that was annoying to have to listen to me yammer and not hearing this stuff?